Canto 9. Summary. After being rebuffed by the demons at the gates of Dis, Virgil returns to a stricken Dante, who pales at the realization that his guide has failed. Virgil tries to encourage him, but to no avail. He tells the pilgrim that he has been here before, all the way to the lowest circle of hell, on an errand for the witch Erictho. As Virgil recounts the story, Dante is distracted by activity up on top of the wall. The Furies have arrived and summoned Medusa, threatening to avenge themselves on Dante by turning him to stone. At that moment, however, help arrives. An angel from heaven strides to the gates, preceded by a violent shaking of hell. He opens the door without effort and severely chides the demons and the Furies for their continued rebellion, reminding them of its supreme fruitlessness. The angel turns and leaves, allowing Virgil and Dante to enter without further resistance. The pilgrim discovers a wide plain, spotted all over with open graves out of which come horrible shrieks. These are the arch-heretics, formulators of doctrinal heresy and their followers. Some tombs burn hotter than others, depending on how far from truth the teachings of their inhabitants were. The canto ends as they walk amongst the graves. Canto 9. The Gates of Dis. Flushed fresh with the color of cowardice, seeing my leader return again in time, my quick color caused him to check his own. Attentive, he stood stock still, listening, for keenest eye could not far drive its gaze through the dense black air of that dense black fog. "Still, it is fitting that we win this fight," he said. "If not, but such was offered us. How slow it seems the other comes to help." Indeed, I noticed how he recovered from that which he had been about to say, with words different than intended at first. Nonetheless, fear grew from his changing speech, for I gathered from the truncated words worse meaning than perhaps they truly held. "Has any come before to this sad ditch from the level above where dwell the souls who suffer only from a cut-off hope?" This question asked, he answered in this way: "It rarely happens that any of us make this journey that we here jointly take, though it is true I have been here before, conjured by that cruel witch queen Erictho, who summoned shades back to their own bodies. Soon after I was stripped of flesh by death, she made me enter through these wretched walls for a soul in the circle of Judas. That is the deepest place, and darkest too, furthest from that heaven that turns all things. Take comfort, well I know the path below. This marsh that belches forth this dreadful stench circles round about the doleful city, where we cannot now enter without wrath." More he said that I cannot bring to mind, for my eyes then fixed all my attention on the high tower's fierce and flaming peak, where suddenly stood, straight up, 3 Furies, hell-born and blood-washed, on top of the wall. Their members and gestures were of women, with bright green hydras girding their midriffs, little serpents and horned snakes as forelocks fastened tight about their savage temples. And he who knew from before these handmaids of the queen of eternal weeping said, "Behold there, the ferocious Erinys. She on the left corner is Megira, she that weeps on the right is Alecto, Tisiphone between," and was silent. Each one ripped at her breasts with her own nails, beating themselves with fists, shrieking so high I pressed myself to the poet in doubt. "Let come Medusa, and turn him to stone," they all said, looking down. "Our revenge on the war of Theseus was poorly made." "Turn round and hide your face. If the Gorgon shows herself and you see her, never would you return to the sunlit lands above." So spoke my master, and he himself turned me round and left me not to his own hands, but protected me with his own as well. O you that possess a sound intellect, wonder at the teaching that hides itself beneath the thick veil of these strange verses. Then, all at once, over the turbid waves came a fracasing of sound, full of fear, at which the Stygian banks violently shook. Not unlike that made by the firestorm wind, impetuous in its high, hostile heat, burning down forests without resistance, crashing branches, razing all to the ground. Before its dust cloud it proudly rages, putting to fast flight both beasts and shepherds. He removed his hands from my eyes and said, "Now brace yourself and set your face to see across the ancient froth and bitter smoke." As frogs before their foe, the savage snake, quick vanish themselves beneath the water, till each finds safe keeping on the dry earth, so I saw more than 1,000 wrecked souls escaping from before one who on foot was crossing over the Styx with dry soles. He removed the greasy air from his face, often waving his left hand as he walked. Of this annoyance alone he seemed tired. Indeed, it was clear he was heaven-sent. As I turned to my master, he motioned to me to keep silent and bow to him, who approached. How full of disdain he seemed. He came to the door with a small scepter, opening it without the least effort. "O hunted from heaven, despised people," he began on the horrible threshold, "what lures this indignity out of you? Why do you continue to scorn that will, the ends of which can never be cut short, that has these many times increased your pain? What use is it to kick against your fate? Your own Cerberus, you will remember, still exhibits a skinned chin and gullet." Turning himself along the filthy way, he left without a word spoken to us, but as one whom other cares press and bite more closely than the cares of another. And we moved our feet on toward that city, confident, following the holy words. We entered within without any war, and I, eager to see what it could be that such a fortress secured, as soon as I came inside, cast my eye around me and saw a stretching plain on every side, full of grief and unholy agony. Such as at Arles, where the Rhone stagnates, such as at Pola near the Carnaro, that closes Italy, soaking her bounds, sepulchres make every place uneven. So too they were doing here on all sides, only the manner here was more bitter. For the flames were scattered among the tombs, in which they were so completely engulfed, such that no art asks for iron more hot. All their covers were suspended above, and from each one escaped laments so hard they seemed indeed of the wretched and pained. And I said, "Master, what are these people who, having been buried within these arks, make themselves heard with their sorrowful sighs?" He answered, "Here are the heresiarchs, with their followers from every faction. These tombs shut up more than you would believe. Of each kind, like with like is buried here. The monuments are hot, some more, some less." Then, having turned himself round to the right, we passed between the martyrs and high walls.